the Sigma data apps are eliminating that, I would say, boundary between data entry and data consumption. My name is Manav Purohit, and I work for Conagra Brands, leading their business intelligence team in the demand science function. We are well-known CPG company. We support demand science that is focused on studying consumer behavior, looking at various trends, and figuring out which direction do we take our products in, what kind of innovation do we do. To do that, they take a very data-driven approach where they use various syndicated data sets and synthesize consumer behavior.
I'm Matthew Henkel. I'm senior analyst under the BI team. So I work with Manav on a lot of functions within our demand science team. So, in this case, with the brands, we're building this report that allows them to compare micro events against macro events, such as consumer price index, weather, mortgage rates, and see if that has any impact on volume sales that may occur.
In demand science, our use cases always involve combining the usual data sets from our internal systems, rows and columns, with external data sets that are generally very unconventional. For example, search engine data, consumer reviews, menu data from food service restaurants. And so we are working with structured, semi-structured, and unstructured data sets. And many of them require an expert or someone from our behavioral science team to review the reports, dashboards, and then provide feedback, override, overrule, or even enhance these insights. So most of our use cases require a very active participation from the user of the report. And we have been using Sigma and specifically some of its functionality that are bundled under data apps to provide the user that capability where they look at dashboards, they look at reports, and then provide their own inputs that then feed back into our databases and change the insights accordingly. The main challenge is not having the user have a very disjointed experience where they look at a report and then to provide the input, they have to maybe enter something in a spreadsheet and place it on a shared drive or go into a different application to provide their input. That was the normal, you would say, method of providing users a way to enter data back into a report. The Sigma data apps are eliminating that, I would say, boundary between data entry and data consumption.
I'll kind of piggyback off what Manav said there. With those overrides, a lot of the ETL work was falling on the IT department or ourselves to go in and enter a script manually. With Sigma and specifically the input tracker, it allows the brands to own that space and own that data. And it really takes away that middleman piece. And ultimately, it saves both our sides time. What we built is a brand-centric reporting tool. So what it does is we're taking those specific brands that they're putting in and looking at those events that are very brand-specific. And we're able to compare it against macro events so they can see if there's any shift in consumption or volume over the course of that given fiscal year and draw any correlation between those events. From a developer standpoint, it was very easy. The ability to have control over the actions, you're able to set boundaries for the users, what they're able to input, what they're not able to. And then from a UX experience, it's been very easy for these users to get onboarded. A lot of pain points that we run into is adoption from these teams. Trying to get them into a new tool is not always easy. But with some of the new modal functionalities and the input tracker, it's been very seamless, and that's helped us roll out this tool more enterprise-wide. When a user would go into the tool, the first thing they would do is go on the right-hand side here. We've got the different brand levels, so they can change between the brand or the sub-brands. If I was a user and I didn't want to just view the highest level, I wanted to go a level below, we're able to switch that over to the sub-brand. The cool thing within Sigma is this dynamic functionality where you're able to change the text on the header here. So you can see that changes. And then at the top, obviously your change is emulated up there as well. For the sake of this demo, go back up to brands. We'll look at our first brand here. And what we're looking at here with this graph is just plotted over 52 weeks for our given fiscal year. We're looking at the index for that specific brand, and we're able to establish an upper and lower boundary for that to show if there's any anomalous behavior over the course of that fiscal year. So that way, it just gives the brands a really high-level overview of what possibly could be happening throughout a given year. Obviously, they're very tied in with their business, but there are certain things that may peak throughout the given year, and this is just a way to kind of help summarize that. On the right-hand side here, just really high-level overview of the weeks that are above and below those thresholds, because there's a couple weeks where it's just barely eclipsing it or not going above it. So it's just to give them more detail. Truly the main part of the tool is down here, where we have the ability to take these above and below thresholds and plot it down amongst the different macro and micro events within the tool. So we have the below thresholds, and this is just to help give you a little bit more context and see if there's anything that happened throughout that given year. As we can see, there's the NHL championship may have not been an impact with that, but we have the active and shifted events as well. So for Christmas and Thanksgiving in this example, if you had any anomalous behavior that occurred during a given quarter, we can see that in the previous fiscal year, Christmas was in a completely different quarter, completely different period, and it is now shifted into a new quarter, new period for this given fiscal year. The really cool piece about this is the micro events, which we've kind of talked about. We have the different events that are solely specific to the brand themselves. So let's move into the event log here. And this is currently what we have for our brands to enter those events. So when they log in, this is the interface they would see. And if they're looking to add an event, all they would do is go up to the top here, and they would select the date in which it occurred. So for this example, we're looking at FY24. So we'll do something within June of 23, which is the beginning of our fiscal year. And let's say it's a month-long event that occurred. And we want to show brand one. And we have the different metric types as well. So we'll do a buy one, get one free. And the really nice thing about this as well from a developer standpoint is you're able to have all of these filters cascade upon each other. So as they start to drill down with these parameters, the events or the metrics that pop up are specific to the ones that were shown above. Let's say this is a retail, and we'll mark this as an active event that occurred during that given time period. Then let's say, since this occurred at a retail, we'll say it's a boat. Save the event, and that'll clear. So once that event is entered in, we would go in and refresh. And there's the event that we had entered. So very quick, very simple. You have it show up here. That's the BOGO. And then now we can go back to the report itself. The beautiful thing is it's going to auto refresh for us. And that event was for brand one. So we don't need to change any other selections on the report. Now we come back down to the report. So you didn't need to change any of the brand levels. It was associated to brand one. And there it is. We have the buy one, get one event that we had put in the input tracker. Within a couple seconds, it's on the report. And now the user is able to go in and compare that event that they just plugged in a couple seconds ago amongst the other values that are on the report. It removes a lot of the middleman work. So we're not having to do the full ETL process for these teams. Specifically for our brands, there's a lot of rotation that happens within there. And it helps prevent a lot of the lost data that can happen when desks change, whether it's year over year or month over month. So the way to preserve that knowledge has been super impactful for us. From a time-saving standpoint, I'll go back to the previous example with brands changing desks. A big issue for them when people are rotating on and off is tracking down previous year's events that occurred. So if someone was looking at buy one, get one promotions from 2021 and the metrics don't match up year over year, it can be hard to kind of contextualize that sometimes. So the ability for us to centralize this data in a singular tool, but also have it stored within Snowflake, it's helped give some of these managers peace of mind that the data is safe, secure, but it's also centralized in that location for them.
I'll also add to that from a developer productivity standpoint. So my team is responsible for building reports, dashboards, and data engineering pipelines. But here we are moving a lot faster than we were before, because all those things take time. Here we are building everything within the construct of a report or a dashboard. And so we work faster with this data app. That helps us free up time for other work, means we can now be more productive. So that is also a big time saver from a developer productivity standpoint.
I would recommend the data apps for any team dealing with unstructured or not enterprise-wide data. Having that write back functionality is huge because it gives them the ability to transform and structure data in your organizational warehouse, whether it's Snowflake or anything else that you use. Advice
that I would give is work with your IT partners to make sure that your data apps architecture is secure. If you ignore it in the start and you just go on and build your data apps, chances are that you might run into issues later which will slow you down. We work with our IT partners, our IT automation team that actually administers Sigma for us in our organization, to turn this on, the input tables functionality. And they took a good amount of time to make sure that the security that was in place would make us compliant with all the rules and policies that our organization has. So I would not ignore security from the get-go. So what you've seen in the demo is an example of a user actively participating with and interacting with the data, not just being a passive consumer of information. And then if you see how things have been moving in the AI space, we are very excited that we can now use some of the open source LLMs that Snowflake has made available through the Cortex AI functionality, bring them in Sigma reports, make the output from the LLMs available to users, and then use a data app to let the user override, overrule, or enhance the output from the LLM and push it back into a database from where they can use it for later use. So I think that is very powerful. We hope to use that in some of our upcoming projects, and that's what excites us a lot.
What excites me is the recent push to really bring in some more UX experience for these users. As I previously mentioned, getting users to adopt new tools is not always the easiest. It's a great tool for developers, but the emphasis of these modals and the input tracker, giving that a user focus has been very helpful. I'm very excited with the input tables. From a developer standpoint, being able to take that unstructured data at times from these brand teams, and then being able to create views or procedures off of that write back table, the input table, it only helps with the transformation from our end, from the developer standpoint. And I think that saved us a lot of pain moving forward, being able to have that fully integrated.
We are a small team. We do not have a lot of time to keep experimenting again and again. So we needed something that would work out of the box, good enough, and then we can keep iterating over it. So we kept that experimental hat on, but at the same time, we worked with the partner of choice, which is Sigma, because we were happy with how things have moved in the past. And so we were confident that they would come through with us when we faced any challenges.